Midterms for the history books. Democrats taking control of the House for the first time in 8 years. With the so-called blue wave, it ends right there.
You got Republicans now strengthening their hold in the Senate. Now, the number's 52, but it could be growing by 2. With the help of President Trump directly, he campaigned for many of those candidates, indefatigably bringing them across the finish line if you're looking at the results. The president just tweeting moments ago that he will be doing a news conference at the White House at 11:30, and he'll be discussing our success at the midterms! Exclamation point, close quote.
He added in another tweet that if you don't give him credit for the midterms, he has 2 words for you: fake news. Meanwhile, still this morning, some major races too close to call in Georgia. Republican Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams still neck and neck. In Arizona, out west, the Senate race between Republican Martha McSally, Democrat Kristen Sinema, a dead heat.
Last night, a lot of big winners and losers, especially in the Senate. In Indiana, you have Republican Mike Braun upsetting incumbent Joe Donnelly. In North Dakota, Kevin Cramer unseating Democrat Heidi Heitkamp.
All right, in Florida, get this. He wasn't leading in any of the polls, but he ended up beating out longtime Democrat Bill Nelson. The former astronaut goes down.
Rick Scott won that race. Meanwhile, in Tennessee, Republican Marsha Blackburn beating out Democrat Phil Bredesen. His popular former governor lost big. In Texas, Ted Cruz holds on to his Senate seat, fighting off Hollywood-backed Beto O'Rourke.
And in Missouri, Josh Hawley runs away with it, besting long-term Senator Clara McCaskill. Missouri is where we find our own Steve Doocy, the dad. He leads our team coverage across the nation, including Pete Hegseth, who is down in Texas and Fort Worth.
Griff Jenkins in Lakeland, Florida.
Todd Pyro is not in Lakeland, Florida. He's in New Jersey.
Ellison Barber in Helena, Montana. They still got a Senate race that hasn't been decided. But let's start with the dad, Steve Doocy, in Branson, Missouri. Good morning, sir.
And our friend. Hey, Steve.
That's right. What a 24 hours I've had. 24 hours ago, I was there in New York with you. We were outside at Fox Square, and then I flew to Springfield, Missouri. I spent the night at a bar, and as the results were coming in, this morning I'm here at the Farmhouse Restaurant. This guy just walked in and he said, "Steve, remember me? I went to high school with you. My wife just saw you on TV. Where have you been for the last, 40 years?
Just celebrated our 40th high school reunion with Darcy Shorman, so.
That's great. Yeah. Anyway, Scott Anderson and his wife here at the Farmhouse. And listen, Brian Ainsley and also Ed, so many people here are so energized because they had fought so hard to get Josh Hawley elected to the U.S. Senate. And last night was, they got a lot of Christmas tree shops here in Branson. Christmas came early for the Republicans because while the polls showed that Claire McCaskill, was up by 3 in the latest from the NBC Wall Street Journal poll, he ran away with it. He won by a big margin of 6 points, despite the fact that over $150 million spent here in the Show Me State. It was the show me the money state when it came to campaigning in this cycle.
Kavanaugh effect?
Kavanaugh effect was really big. Last night when we were there at the bar, the Pat and Alley Grill, I pulled the audience and I said, okay, how big was the economy? And it was big. I asked about immigration. Not so big. I asked if it was a referendum on the President of the United States. They didn't really feel that. They had a number of people. Healthcare, not so big. But Kavanaugh was the number one noisemaker in the bar there and in this restaurant this morning.
And, Steve, the polls were wrong. I mean, they were flat out wrong.
Yep.
All right, Steve Doocy.
Well, but it's becoming so. But Brian, it's just become so hard to calculate who has done early voting, and then just like we saw 2 years ago with a hidden Trump voter who did not want to tell the pollsters who they had voted for. Once again, that was one of the problems. It was hard to get an accurate read on who showed up at the polls, and as we know, they showed up in historic numbers.
Who has a cell phone, doesn't have a landline. Steve Doocy, we appreciate your report. Obviously, other big races. Let's move on to Florida. Former Congressman Ron DeSantis, the Republican, defeats Andrew Gillum, the Democrat. Gillum had been up several points, not 1 or 2 points. DeSantis wins really in a nail-biter. He wins the race for governor, and as we said, Rick Scott, the current Republican governor in Florida, defeats Democratic incumbent Senator Bill Nelson in that race. That was remarkable as well. Big turnaround for the GOP there.
Griff Jenkins is getting voter reaction live at the Brunch Box in Lakeland, Florida. Do you know, Griff, I had a lot of friends texting me saying, thank goodness we're not going to see these campaign ads anymore. Are you hearing some of that down there? It's all over.
I think the guys, Ainsley, are glad that the campaign ads are finally over, and I'm actually getting some reaction from American heroes. Two gentlemen at this table, Oscar Lindsay and Floyd Williams, World War II veterans. Floyd, thank you for your service. You too, Oscar. What did you make of the results with the elections here? And are you glad the campaign ads will stop on your TV?
Oh, right. But I'm mostly satisfied with the election. Could have been better, but could have been a lot worse, too.
Could have been better. What would have been better, Floyd?
If we'd carried it a little better, a little stronger wind.
For the Republicans?
Yes.
All right, well, there you go. I'm just going to move a little bit here. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm going to sneak back here. I was talking to Will. Will, what did you make of the results last night, and why does it particularly impact you personally?
I'm happy that we won the state governor race, Scott winning the Senate race. I voted red all the way down the ballot. I think for me personally, it's about the Latin voters, especially on the I-4 corridor that they always talk about from Tampa and Orlando area, because we have an opportunity as Republicans to reach out to the Latin voters. They don't want to be served fish every day. They want to learn how to fish in our way of society. And we have an opportunity to just show them the way rather than the Democratic way of, here, we'll provide this to you. They want to learn how to fish.
And we're almost out of time, but you're a first-generation Latino voter?
Correct. I'm a first-generation Latino. My family is all from Colombia, South America. And the biggest influence that we need to do as a Latin is be able to explain to our parents that don't understand English exactly what is being broadcasted.
All right. Will, thank you very much. Well, you know, it's really a lot of reaction here. We'll keep bringing it to you. But I think you're right, Ainsley. They're glad these ads are finally off the air. For
and
now.
robocalls. No more robocalls.
Hang on, one minor correction. The ads start for 2020 in about a week or so.
Yeah.
So they're coming back, bro.
Right after Christmas.
Griff, don't check your voicemail. You might be able to come home after this. We'll see.
All right, now let's get on to Texas, where all the media hype and Hollywood attention couldn't help Beto O'Rourke defeat Ted Cruz.
But, man, he got close, and that gets a lot of people in Texas worried who want Republicans to continue to dominate there. Getting voter reaction, Pete Hegseth, because we asked him to.
He's at the Old South Pancake House in Fort Worth. Good morning, Pete.
Oh, I'd love to get
That's right. We are at the Old South Pancake House. One thing I learned about Texas does not wake up. Why do you guys not wake up until 7 a.m. in Texas? It's been sleepy here, but it's sleepy no more at the Old Pancake House. Look at this cookie right here. They're happy about Ted Cruz. Are we happy about Ted Cruz here? Pretty good, too. We have a winning candidate as well. What race did you win last night, sir?
I won Justice of the Peace in Precinct 6.
Oh, his job starts on January 1st. He'll be a busy man. Congratulations. We also have family hour. We've got tables of kids all over the place, which makes me happy. I miss my own. And Tracy's pulling double duty here. Tracy, how you doing?
Good.
Thanks for coming out. Your hat drew me toward you. How do you feel the GOP did last night?
I think we did well. A little disappointed on the House side, but, you know, so I'm hoping the government still gets something done in the next couple of years. But we're excited. Excited about Cruz.
Excited about Cruz?
Yeah, that was a nail biter.
Was the race a little closer than you thought it would be, though?
Yes. Yes, but, you know, he still won, so a winner is a winner.
A winner is a winner.
Yes.
What's your little guy's name there?
This is Boone.
This is Boone?
Yes.
That's my little guy's name, Boone. So well done on the name.
Thanks.
I love it.
Thanks.
And how do you see the next? How do you see this creating opportunities for President Trump in 2020? How does it shape that?
Well, if the Democrats behave the way that they have been, then I think we're going to be good to go in 2020.
What do you guys think? 2020 Trump? A pretty excited group. I mean, listen, on balance, we're getting mixed reaction. Folks saying it was closer than we thought it would be, but some big Senate races, including this one in Cruz, going for the Republicans, increasing the majority there. What's your name, sir?
Jason.
Jason, you voted, and you were involved in the race. What did you make of the Cruz race?
It was a little tighter at first than I thought, but I was happy with the outcome.
The other big Senate races, are you surprised so many Senate seats did flip for Republicans?
Yeah. For the Republicans? No.
No? Don't worry about it.
Sorry, I'm nervous.
Hey, you know what? At the end of the day, Texas is still red, it's still Republican, and listen, they got 3 kids, they're busy, and all the kids here incredibly well behaved. I need to take some parenting lessons from folks in Texas, clearly. Back to you guys in New York.
Get on safe, get back here. I'll see you bright and early Saturday morning.
And Pete, yesterday we had a lot of people here for Fox Nation signing up out here while they were watching the election coverage. So many people from Fort Worth, and they all said they love that restaurant. It's extremely popular.
It is really popular. The Skillet. I've had it 2 breakfasts already this morning. I'm thinking about a 3rd.
All right, get the receipts. We'll reimburse.
All right.
All right, 10 minutes after the hour. Meanwhile, the Montana Senate race still up in the air. We wish we could report a finale by now.
It's still going. Republican candidate Matt Rosendale looking to become the latest GOP candidate to knock off a Democratic incumbent in Jon Tester.
Well, Ellison Barber joins us live from Helena, Montana. Hey, I'm getting better. Hey, Ellison, how are you?
Hey guys, it's 6 a.m. here. The sun is still not up yet. There is snow on the ground, and we still do not have a winner of this Senate race. But both candidates went home last night from their election party saying that they felt confident heading into this morning. As for voters, the voters who we spoke to said a lot of them said that President Trump did play at least some role in their vote or their decision to show up and vote. Some said it was because they really like President Trump and they support his agenda. Others said it's because they do not like him and they do not like what he stands for.
I voted red all the way.
We wanted to vote for Kathleen Williams and Jon Tester. I definitely don't want her to have to be around too many more presidents like our current president.
President Trump visited Montana for rallies 4 different times. For the president, this Senate race is personal. He wants Tester out of the Senate, and he said a big reason for that is because he thinks Tester's actions in regards to the nomination of Dr. Ronny Jackson for VA Secretary were, in his words, disgraceful. President Trump won this state in 2016 by 20 points. His approval rating is around 50%. Democrats did not want this to be a race between Trump and Tester. They want it to be about Montana. Rosendale believes more than anything Montana voters want someone who will support the president's agenda.
This is a race between myself and Matt Rosendale on who is best fit to serve Montana, who is best fit to take back the rural perspective of this state and fight for it.
I think that they have watched Jon Tester oppose the president's agenda on every turn, and they're not satisfied with that.
Tester and Rosendale left their election parties telling their supporters that it would be a long night. They were right. Brian, Ansley,
all right.
Pete.
Ellison, great reporting.
Not Pete.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's all right.
Yeah, we hope to get some type of verdict as soon as today. Meanwhile, 12 minutes after the hour.
All right, Dan Bongino and Dave Bossie are here live.
Plus, Republican Kevin Cramer, hot off of unseating Democratic Senator Heidi Heitkamp in North Dakota's big battle, is going to talk to us about how significant that win is.
Karl Rove is here with historical perspective on last night's results. Next.
North Dakota is a rectangular stage under the nation's spotlight because you've proven what can be done with hard work and ingenuity and innovation. You have been a shining example to the people of this country.
In many ways, this year's midterm elections are unlike midterms in the past.
All right, here to give some historical perspective, Karl Rove, former senior advisor to President George W. Bush, Fox News contributor. Put this in perspective. Some good news. The turnout.
Yeah.
That's good for the country.
Oh, yeah. Everybody gets a ribbon. The Americans get the ribbon that they turned out and voted. 97 million so far, probably across 100 million by the time we finish. The Republicans gain seats in the Senate. Democrats take the House. Governors, each side has something to crow about. But we
actually have a full screen on that. In 2018, there were 40 million early ballots cast. That's 2018. We had it this time above for 2014 at 28 million, almost double.
Yeah. And in fact, I think that those numbers, again, when we finish tabulating, we're going to see it's an even bigger margin in 2018 versus 2014. And look, people were revved up. They wanted to go vote. They wanted to make themselves heard, and that's always good in a democracy like ours.
Yeah. You've been at this a long time. What was your biggest surprise as you try to process all this?
Well, in Florida, because there's a lesson in it for Republicans. And there's a lesson in it for Democrats. Everybody got a ribbon, but also everybody's report card says you got some deficiencies, yeah. And they were evident in Florida. Rick Scott had his own independent vision. I mean, people knew who he was. He was 8 years for governor, 2 terms, and he got a higher number of votes, but a lower percentage than did Ron DeSantis. And the reason was, in DeSantis's race, the Democrats nominated somebody who was out of the mainstream, so far out of the mainstream for Florida that 50,000 people said, I don't want to vote for DeSantis because he may be too extreme, but I am not going to vote for Gilliam. And so DeSantis gets a wider margin than Scott, but Scott gets more votes.
Historically speaking, there's usually a power shift in the midterm elections, but this time it's a little different. The president went out there stumping for all these senators, didn't have the opportunity to go out to 400 plus districts for the House. But the House, they only picked up I shouldn't say only, they picked up 26 seats.
Well, so far they're at 219, and they lead in 9, so they'll be at 228. So, and the Republicans lead in 193, and have 193, lead in 14, so they're likely to end up around 207.
If you look at what's happened in the past, Bill Clinton, the Democrats lost 52 seats, and Barack Obama, Democrats lost 63 seats, but then they both won re-election. What does the president need to do to win again in 2020?
Well, let me start by saying I come at it slightly differently. The president did a smart thing by putting his emphasis in the Senate, because the Senate was was being played out on a map that was very good, it was very red, and the redder the state, the better. North Dakota, the better off Republican candidates were, and it was smart for him to go in there. And where he played in the House races was where they were red. Like West Virginia 3 was expected to be lost, but it's a very red district. The president carried about 46 points, and he went in there just before the election. So I think the White House operation knew that the suburban battlefield was not where the president could help the party.
And he's got to change it real quick. Is he more powerful today than he was yesterday, or less?
Yes. He's more powerful in that he's got a Senate that can approve his nominees, particularly for the courts. He's weaker in that he's about ready to be inundated by a flood of subpoenas and requests from Congress. I've been there, and it was a less acrimonious time, even with the war in Iraq. It was less acrimonious. We doubled the size of the White House General Counsel's office, and we didn't have enough lawyers.
Karl Rove, he literally teaches a master's class on this stuff now, but he came here first to tell us all about it. Thank you, sir.
Great job last night. Thanks for helping us.
Democrats may have the House, Republicans actually gained some seats in the Senate. Was that because of a Trump effect?
Well, we are back with an update on midterm ballot initiatives. In North Dakota, voters passing a measure to explicitly bar non-U.S. citizens from voting in federal, state, and local elections. It's already illegal for non-citizens to vote in North Dakota, but supporters believed that it was necessary to change the wording in their constitution. Further west, a little farther west, I should say, Oregon votes to keep protecting illegal immigrants, a ballot measure failing to repeal the state sanctuary law. Oregon was the first state to pass legislation shielding illegal immigration or immigrants from deportation in 1987. And voters in Washington refused to adopt a nation's first carbon tax. Democrats failing to impose fees on fuel producers and other energy companies for carbon emissions. In 2016, voters in the blue state rejected a similar ballot measure. And 3 states voting to pass pot legislation. Michigan will fully legalize marijuana, while Utah and Missouri legalize it for medical use. A recreational measure in North Dakota failed, but medical cannabis is legal in the state.
All right, and there you go. Meanwhile, in Florida, former Congressman Ron DeSantis, get this, defeats Andrew Gillum in a nail-biter in the race for governor of that state. As we told you earlier, Rick Scott has defeated Democratic incumbent forever Bill Nelson in the race for the Senate seat. So that's big news and surprising news.
Here to weigh in on these big races, former Trump deputy campaign manager, Fox News contributor David Bossie, and former Secret Service agent, author of a new book, Dan Bongino. Good to see you, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Dan, let's start with you. You're down in Florida. Talk about this, because the polls had Gillum up several points, not 1 or 2 points. And in the Senate race as well, Rick Scott was coming from behind the whole way.
Yeah, Ed, I was sure. I think I even said it on this show, or at least said it on the network. I was pretty sure DeSantis and Scott would pull this out. The reason is there was just no fire behind Nelson. I mean, nobody knew who he was. I had jokingly said people confuse him with Ben Nelson, the old senator from Nebraska.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody knew who he was. Scott did a really good job on the hurricane recovery, which is always obviously a sensitive issue down here in Florida. And on the Gillum side in the governorship race, I just want, being an activist, Ed, not just a commentator, you go out there and you talk to actual people. Gillum's policies, his policies scared people down here. A lot of Northeasterners moved to Florida to escape the high tax environment, and the idea of a 40% tax increase in Florida was a big no-sell. I wasn't surprised at all at the DeSantis win.
David, he had a lot of charisma. He has a lot of charisma. He's got a lot of talent, but his record in Tallahassee wasn't strong, and his policies seemed to be counterintuitive to people of Florida. So why was it so close?
Well, first of all, Florida has gotten tougher and tougher and tougher for Republicans, but Ron DeSantis ran an incredible race. The early vote, when we saw the early vote, and I talked about this on the network in the last couple of days, when that early vote closed, and in 2016 we were about 100,000 votes down going into Election Day, and we won by about 125,000. Yesterday, Ron DeSantis only went in about 20,000 votes down. So that margin is about what he won by. So he ran an incredible race. Susie Wiles, who came in and ran the campaign, just did an amazing job. And I can't speak highly enough about Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis's. And by the way, the President of the United States made the difference in this race. There's no question about that.
I was going to say, Dan, how much is this because of the president? His name wasn't on the ballot, but he campaigned like he was out there. He did 3 different campaign rallies the last day, and over the 6 days, I think he did 11 rallies. I mean, he was out there really pushing for some of these senators.
Listen, let me just put this out there, because there are a lot of even moderate right-leaning outlets trying to claim the Trump effect wasn't real. You need to get out of your bubble and get away from your typewriter, because you're not on the ground. Where Trump showed up and actively put his name and his political capital on the line, they did very, very well. I mean, outside of Dean Heller, this was almost a clean sweep for Trump. Now, he couldn't show up in every House race, and yes, we had trouble in the suburbs. But keep this in mind. Reagan in 1982 lost, 26 House seats? Came back in 84 and won 49 out of 50 states. Trump may do just about that same way. So the Trump effect is real. You're a fool.
Anyone who thought 2016 was
otherwise.
a fluke, thanks, Dan. Anyone who thought that 2016 was a fluke now has proof it wasn't.
No, it definitely was not. But to further Dan's point, if you look at where Donald Trump went, President Trump, he won almost every single race. If you look where Barack Obama went, he lost almost every single race. It was absolutely the polar opposites. The president brought an enthusiasm. You look at the numbers that this president brought out at these rallies. We all saw them. But the intensity, the energy that he brings to the ground. Not just that, but his accomplishments for the last 2 years gave him something to talk to the American people about and say, see, here is what I promised, promise made, promise kept. And that is something that politicians in Washington have not been able to do, and that's why he got elected in 2016.
Now he'll have Republican governors in Ohio and Florida, 2 key battlegrounds heading into 2020. David Bossie, Dan Bongino, thanks for coming in.
All right, thanks, guys. And we'll find out what it means. We've got to talk about that, too, how he's going to govern with split government. Meanwhile, what are voters saying about the midterm results? Steve, Todd, and Griff have breakfast with friends in Missouri.
Well, there's a power shift in Washington. Democrats take on the House, or they take the House for the first time in 8 years, Brian.
But the Senate is still running red. Republicans picking up more seats in the chamber, thanks in part to the president, while there are 2 races still out there.
Arizona and Montana. With Congress now split, the president tweeting just moments ago, if the Democrats think they're going to waste taxpayer money investigating us at the House level, then we will likewise be forced to consider investigating them for all the leaks of classified information and much else at the Senate level. 2 can play that game.
All right. And in all fairness, Nancy Pelosi deserves to be chosen Speaker of the House by the Democrats. If they give her a hard time, perhaps we will add some Republican votes. She has earned this great honor.
Sounds like he wants Pelosi to be Speaker.
You know what was interesting? They did talk yesterday. Kellyanne Conway indicated that, and they never talked about investigations. She didn't really talk much about investigations in her speech when the balance of power went to the House.
Yep.
So maybe there was some progress.
All right, we have some Fox team coverage right now, getting voter reaction this morning. Todd Pyro live in Lebanon, New Jersey. Griff Jenkins live in Lakeland, Florida. But first, we go to our man Steve Doocy live in Branson, Missouri. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and ladies and gentlemen, we're live on Fox and Friends again. We are not far from the Ozarks here in Branson, Missouri. You know, we've heard from so many pundits already today about what yesterday's election meant to them and their world. We're going to talk to the people rather than the pundits. This guy's name is...
I'm Steve.
Me too. All right. So, Steve, what was yesterday's election all about?
To me, it was about supporting a president and a party that was proud of me, proud of my country, loved my country, mentioned God once in a while, and didn't call me a racist and a Nazi and all the other stuff, and didn't want to take money from everybody and give it to me, so I'd vote for him.
All right. That's what it came to. You agree with that, folks? All right. Over here, this man earlier today was disappointed to learn that Steve Doocy, not Peter Doocy, showed up. What did the election mean to you?
I think it's a decision what we want our country to be.
Yes, I follow that. It gave a voice back to the people that really support the president.
All right. I'm coming right over this guy in the red, white, and blue. Stand up, sir, if you would. What do you think? What was the election about yesterday?
About everything, but primarily the integrity of the Supreme Court based upon the Constitution and what it means, what the founders meant, not what it is from a political mindset.
All right, very good. So the Kavanaugh decision was big when it came to Claire McCaskill.
Well, yes.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. Good job. Everybody did a good job. We'll come back a little later on. That was, by the way, and so many people, Ainsley and Brian, Ed, wanted me to tell you hello from Branson, Missouri. You got to come down sometime because it's the best place in America to live, they say.
It was great. And bring back some barbecue.
You know, in almost every study, it comes out as Branson, Missouri is the best place to live for families.
Really?
I'm serious. So I got to go down.
Thanks for the invite.
Good people there, Midwesterners. All right, now to New Jersey, where Senator Bob Menendez, despite accusations of corruption, defeated businessman Bob Hugin in that Senate race.
That's where we find Todd Pyro. He's live at the Spinning Wheel Diner in Lebanon, New Jersey. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. These Jersey voters are fired up and ready to vent. We begin with Dolores. Very disappointed in the New Jersey Senate race. Happy with the overall Senate picture. Why?
Yeah, I was up all night watching, so I haven't slept yet. I'm very sad for the state of New Jersey with Hugin and Lance losing at the same time. We picked up seats in the Senate. Got to look at the positive, guys. We're going to get those judges in, and we got to look for 2020.
Understood. Thank you so much, Dolores. You're half full. Your glass is half empty, Glenn. You say the election of Bob Menendez is sending you to the South.
I'm out of here. I'm going down to Tennessee, probably more than likely. This has been a major disappointment for me, and I can't get out of the state fast enough with the high taxes and the corruption in this state. Is overwhelming now. It's time for me to leave.
And you've been in your family house since 1926.
1926. We've been in the same neighborhood, and it's time to go.
That's sad. All right. Thank you so much, Glenn. Sad to see you go, but understood. Bob, you say Jersey is chasing people like Glenn out. Why?
Yes, that's true. Just what he said, the high taxes, the unmanageable of our budget deficits, taxes going through the roof, and all the people who pay the taxes can't afford it anymore. They're leaving. I've lived here all my life in New Jersey, and I've never seen such a mess as we have now, and it's only going to get worse with the current government.
Bob, thank you very much. Elmer, we don't have time for him, but I will say he told me, quote, it's better to be corrupt. You get more in the state, and that's a sad state of affairs, according to Elmer. Back to you.
Yep, but
he's leaving.
He's getting another 6 years. All right, thanks a lot, Todd. Meanwhile, now back down to Florida, where the president visited twice last week. He has a house there. Former Congressman Ron DeSantis defeats Andrew Gillum in the race for governor, and Rick Scott comes from behind and beats Democrat incumbent forever Bill Nelson for that Senate seat in Florida. So that flips.
Let's bring in Griff Jenkins.
That's a great idea. Where is he? He's at a cute little place called the Brunch Box. He's in Lakeland, Florida. Hey, Griff.
Hey guys, yeah, you know, even Floridians surprised by those results. In fact, I'm with Tony and Melissa right now. Tony's a lifelong resident from Lakeland. Tony, what did you make of the election results?
Well, excuse me because I'm eating right now, but
I apologize. I'm crashing people's breakfasts here. I haven't gotten thrown out yet.
Well, I was a little surprised, but I kind of thought Gillum was going to win. I was kind of getting my hopes up, but you know, I think the new guy, we'll give him a chance.
DeSantis, you're going to give him a chance?
Yeah, we'll give him a chance.
And you're a lifelong resident here in the I-4 corridor. Do you believe that the voters in this area made a difference in these tight races?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because Lakeland is kind of like stationed in the middle of everything. So you either coming to us one way or you're coming to us from the other way.
All right, let me get you in here. Melissa, what did you make of the election results?
I think it was great. It was pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You happy with it?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Hold on one second. I want to make one quick jump because I did. Thanks, guys. Real quick, Will. Greg, what did you make of the election results?
I think it was great for Florida with DeSantis and Scott taking it like that. That's huge. We did not want Gillum running this state. It's just a great move. Excellent. It's bigly, as we call it.
Bigly. Well, there you go. A little bit of different opinions here. One thing that everyone agrees on is that I'm a breakfast pest and interrupting everybody trying to eat. Back to you.
He was like wiping his mouth, just taking a bite, and you're asking him questions. That was really cute.
One day he's down at the border, the next day he's interrupting breakfast. He's just everywhere.
All right, guys.
There's one thing we can all agree on. We love our food, right?
All right.
Unless you're a kid. Kids hate to sleep and they hate eating. And then when you're an adult, that's all you want to do.
Not if it's an ice cream cone or something like that.
That's true.
What
All
were the
right,
top
Chris,
issues that drove voters to the polls? We're debuting our brand new voter analysis. To break it all down, that is just ahead.
Plus, Congressman Marsha Blackburn making